Good morning, everyone. The stock market surged today for two other reasons besides the cooler than expected inflation reports. First, we had Israel and Hamas reach a ceasefire agreement in Gaza. Let's hope it holds. Obviously, they're finalizing a few things still, and but either way, that would be good news if it does hold, and that's one less geopolitical conflict and less uncertainty in the world. A few months ago, we had Israel and Hezbollah reach an agreement, which was also good too. And as I said, it's optimistic, but we have to see if it holds. There could be some last minute disruptions, but that's a step in the right direction. We also had yesterday bank earnings were really strong due to increased optimism and deal making activity that'll likely happen in the upcoming year with the Trump administration win due to a friendlier regulatory environment and deregulation and perhaps better tax policy for these big banks. In Q4, that's why I think the earnings for the banks were a little bit better, pricing those policies in. There'll be more mergers, there'll be more IPOs, which will ultimately be good for banks this year. And it's an overall good barometer of the economy. And then today we had retail sales. Retail sales, although slightly less than estimated, at 0.4% month over month compared to 0.6%, it was still very strong, showing a robust holiday spending for the consumer in December. This data is going to spill over into GDP, and it shows that, what recession, the economy is still strong, at least in terms of spending. You might argue that a lot of that is due to consumers taking out credit card debt, which could be very true. But either way, that's a step in the right direction. And then I also want to talk about, with the incoming Trump administration, a few people have been asking me what are the top three priorities that Trump will probably have in regards to crypto. Well, there's reports that Trump might issue some crypto executive orders shortly after he's sworn in, perhaps in the first few weeks, maybe even the first few days, or perhaps even day one after the inauguration. And one of the things is that there might, him working with crypto and AI czar David Sachs, there might be a little bit of executive orders about ending the debanking that we saw over the last few years, as well as the repeal of SAB 121. That rule, if banks custodied Bitcoin on their balance sheets, Bitcoin and crypto would have to be treated as liabilities. If that's repealed, banks could custody Bitcoin and it won't be liabilities anymore. So more banks will be comfortable holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Obviously, asset managers like BlackRock hold a lot of Bitcoin due to the ETFs. And you see Larry Fink going on, CNBC and Bloomberg talking about Bitcoin as a flight to quality. And, the Bitcoin ETFs had a record year in terms of inflows. No other ETF has really gotten the amount of inflows that the Bitcoin ETFs did in their first year. I also think it's possible that President Trump will issue an executive order having a Bitcoin strategic reserve, perhaps buying more Bitcoin and putting it into our balance sheet, or transferring the Bitcoin that the DOJ already has into the Treasury's balance sheet. Obviously, we have to see, but that'd be good news for Bitcoin. We saw previous interest from President Trump having such a Bitcoin stockpile, where he said that in the Bitcoin convention over the summer, and pretty much as a hedge to pay down our massively growing debt. So let's see if he carries through on that. I either think that we'll use the Bitcoin that the DOJ already has, or perhaps we'll, buy new Bitcoin and put on our balance sheet, which will ultimately put us in a favorable position because once we start doing it, it'll be a global game theory of other countries competing to acquire Bitcoin for themselves in their balance sheets as competition. And then I also think that President Trump and his team will probably change some tax policy for crypto and perhaps remove capital gains tax on Bitcoin transactions. Other currencies, you don't have capital gains tax in using them. And I think President Trump and his team will remove capital gains tax for at least Bitcoin and perhaps all cryptocurrencies. Obviously, we have to see. But if those three things get adopted, the repeal of SAB 121 and the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve and the no capital gains tax on Bitcoin and crypto transactions will have tons of money flowing into the space, and 2025 will be a great year for crypto. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about quantum computing. Quantum computing stock sold off hard last week after Jensen Huang's comments that quantum computing technology is 15 and 30 years away. But then you also had him saying 2 days ago, I believe, that NVIDIA is having in their conference in March pretty much a segment about quantum computing and inviting key quantum computing companies to go, such as IonQ, Rigetti, D-Wave, and a few others. And the fact that he's saying that, I think, is a little bit of a pivot, saying that quantum computing is real and perhaps could have some specific use cases. Obviously, his initial comment, Jensen Huang's, was about generalized use cases in the chat GPT moment for quantum. And yes, I think that's 15 to 30 years away, but for specialized specific use cases, for financial modeling, math, material science, physics, some specific applications are now. And the D-Wave quantum CEO also said that on CNBC, that specific use case applications are now and customers are paying for the capabilities. So that combined with Microsoft saying 2025 is the year to be quantum ready, it's going to be an arms race and a gold rush for quantum as well. And quantum stocks recovered yesterday, up pretty substantially from 20 to 30%. This was after the sell-off from last week, after Jensen Huang said that quantum computing, could be 15 and 30 years away. After those initial comments, yes, quantum computing stocks sold off about 40% in one day. But since we saw that, Jensen Huang's pivot, as I said, of in the GTC conference, having quantum companies go, and Microsoft saying 2025 is the year for quantum, I think it's a quantum gold rush. And quantum stocks and quantum technology, working with AI, should continue to do well this year in 2025. Let's stay tuned.